I ended up getting pregnant when I was 19 and pushed into getting married because it was the right thing to do, as my parents said. And it didn't last more than a couple of months. From then on out, I kind of grew up with feeling not worthy and just desperate for attention and love. And then I married the next guy that showed me a lot of attention, even though it was kind of the wrong attention. Felt like this just must be the way marriage was supposed to be. I didn't know any different. I didn't really grow up where marriage was centered around God and love and respect, and I didn't grow up in that type of a lifestyle. So I just assumed that this was it. My second marriage came to an end, and it was rough, and I felt again like a failure. I felt that I had failed yet again, and what I was putting my kids through, what I was putting myself through, what I was doing to my friends and family, and I felt empty and lost. And then that's when Bret and I met.
My first marriage, while it lasted 13 years, I was kind of just going through the motions. She was very church-centered, and I not so much at that point. I believed in God. I was baptized, but never really put God in the center. That marriage failed, although we did have two wonderful children out of it. I was pretty much devoted myself to work and my hobbies, and that's when I met Jess, and she kind of showed me the happiness and joy that someone that was really full of life could show.
We got married, and it was shortly after that I had, from my previous relationships, I had surrounded myself with people that probably didn't have my best intention at heart. There was a lot of poor decisions on my part. Again, I didn't grow up where marriage was valued or respected, so God was not in the picture whatsoever. I mean, I believed in God, but I didn't have that full entrustment with Him. That's when trouble started to form, and it was kind of like a snowball effect. Like, it just kept rolling down the hill and getting larger and larger until it finally it blew up.
I was frustrated. Felt like I wasn't being heard. I wasn't being valued. Friends' opinions were more important than my opinion was, and I felt really hurt. And I didn't want to be hurt anymore. So at that point, I walked away.
And that's probably when I hit rock bottom, when I wanted to give up everything. I had failed 3 times now. We had now involved 4 children, and I didn't have anywhere to turn. I felt empty and lost and hopeless again. We both walked through the doors at Dayspring without knowing that each other was going to be here, and sat in the same row, in the very last row in the back, and there was a gentleman that sat between us. I finally realized that God had to be in the middle of this marriage, otherwise it wasn't gonna work.
We started coming to church, just started going to counseling, and we started to rediscover us and how we were gonna be as a family.
So I had I call it a total game changer. I was committed to making this work. I knew that I wasn't going to find anybody as amazing as this man. And I was ready to put God in the center, come to church, and do things the right way this time.
Some of the big steps that you made really showed me the change when you got baptized, and when you suggested that we join a life group. I was like, what, is this the same person? So, that really shocked me, and was really happy. And I've kind of had to change in to make sure to keep reminding you that I love you no matter what, and that I'm not going anywhere.
I think that's still still a hard thing for me is knowing that I don't have to do life alone. One of my biggest fears, and I think that's something from my past, is afraid of not being good enough and being alone, and not being lovable. I really hold true to Joel 2:25, where if you were to rephrase it, what it really means is that God can take what's broken and He can change it into something amazing. And I felt like we were broken, and we had spent time trying to put back a puzzle that pieces weren't there, so we were never going to finish this puzzle. And when we got God involved, He gave us the pieces that were missing. Before, I felt like I was bound in chains, and every mistake, every bad decision, every poor choice I made, I felt like was just holding me back from living a happy, Christ-centered, loving life. And I'm so glad that those chains are broken and that I can get up every day and smile and know that God loves me, my husband loves me, and our marriage is stronger than ever.